So I'm sitting here in the sweet rainy rain, torrential downpour rain, in beautiful Treasure Island, Florida. Back before I was born, a couple years before I was born, my grandpa, Daniel Franklin Graham, bought a Mercury car. No, maybe it wasn't the Mercury. I forget. He bought a new car, and they drove from New Jersey to Florida, and they came to Treasure Island. That was their first place. And they were adventurers and travelers because they had grown up in Freedens, Pennsylvania. Freedens is in Somerset County. Find Freedens, Pennsylvania. It's way out in the farm country, near the Lincoln Highway. They took the brand new Pennsylvania Turnpike and the Lincoln Highway into Philadelphia, Route 30, all the way into Ocean City. And they and some of their family members started vacationing in Ocean City, New Jersey. And they bought some property and they started renting shore homes in New Jersey. And my grandfather used to joke about this one house. It was so tiny, and I've been in some of these houses, so tiny you fall out of bed right into the living room. The second floor actually has a stairway that you pull down in the hallway, and you can walk up a set of stairs into the bedroom that actually just encircles the hole in the floor. Now, that's against code. You can't do that no more. But they had some cheap little cottage houses, shore cottage houses, and they rented them. But then they went back home to Freedens, Pennsylvania. And then somebody said, well, gosh, it's so beautiful in Ocean City all year round. We ought to just live over there. So some of them moved there, and my grandparents were included in those that moved to Ocean City. And my mother grew up and went to Ocean City High School. And then my grandparents moved to New Orleans in the late 60s. And oh, jeez. And in the late 60s, it was pretty strange. My Aunt Sally, the other two sisters were out of the house. They were married and gone. But Aunt Sally moved to New Orleans, and she was shocked to see all the segregation and weird racist attitudes and stuff. And she was just like, this is terrible. Because Ocean City was a Methodist retreat community that also became one of the ends of the Underground Railroad. So there were slave families that grew up in Ocean City. I used to walk to elementary school holding hands with Carlton Smith, and he was one of the darkest skinned human beings I ever saw. I mean, his skin was so beautiful, it was jet black, and he was my friend. And that was part of my life in Ocean City. So then many, many years later, my grandparents were touring all around trying to find a place to retire. They were living in New Orleans. They were the superintendents of the famous Magnolia School, which you can also look up. An amazing place that cared for handicapped people and emotionally disturbed people. And my grandfather got pretty famous because he put together a buddy system where the crippled person was connected with the person with emotional problems, and they teamed up and they got a bunch of stuff done, and they had so much fun they started building businesses and running them out. So anyhow, so my grandparents retired. They were looking around for a beach island community to retire on. And they traveled all around the world going to islands and beaches. And they decided that in good old America, the nicest beach community was basically Pass-a-Grille, St. Pete Beach. pretty close to Tampa, a big city. Still got little cottages and is not taken over by gigantic resort hotels. And just like a plain, simple, pleasant place to be.